This is Bale. That's nicely played. Confident pass. That's a dangerous area to lose the ball. Back towards the centre. Well intercepted. Back to the goalkeeper. Easy for the goalkeeper there. And the striker's feet. We're entering injury time. Mischallenge there. Ah, defending. All they needed to get that was the whistle. It's half time. away team have gone with this lineup. So we're underway and the players really looking forward to this game. Bayahon. That's going to be a corner. Now can they capture up from this set piece? He must surely handle with the goalkeeper's ball then. Line is out of play. That's good mix of play. Bale to take the corner. Gets the header in. Goalkeeper's ball. Well taken. This is Verratti. They've taken it down the wing. Confident pass. Hoisted upfield now. Well read. This is Bale. And it's cleared by Varane. But that's not out of play. That's a dangerous area to lose the ball. Forward chance now. Not a good challenge. Salah. Now Immobile. This is Bale. Bayahon. Good clearance. Oh, this could be costly. It's with the striker. Oh, that could be
atrapalhar a internet.
Well, go down. Casemiro. And the coach is changing things around. So still all square, both sides. Well, they deserve a point. However, there's still time left to cause a late upset. Oh, wonderful trickery here. Won the ball. Finds his teammate. An opportunity. I can't believe it. Just look at the crowd. They surely want it now. Well, let's take another look at that. Fourth official is indicating 6 minutes of stoppage time. Look at the confidence that's given him and the team. Can they hold on to the lead? And this really takes the pressure off the defence. Picked up by the defender. Kicks the ball away from Nation. Oh, fantastic effort from him. Well deserved. The man of the match award. There's a big cup tie atmosphere for this game. Both managers have picked strong lineups today. No real surprises. They're playing three at the front. It's a 4-3-3 formation. Off we go then. Let's hope for some goals then today. Not a good tackle at all. He'll feel that in the volley. Salah. They're appealing, but he's offside. He's found an opening. Quality defending there. Payahon. What a well-timed tackle. Oh, that's a foul.
Fala aí galera, se inscreva no canal e deixa esse like que é muito importante.
Great pass across the width of the pitch there. Hudson-Odoi. Sniffed it on a great challenge. The replay will give us a closer look. Perisic. And winning, you need to defend well here. Keeper collects that one. He chooses to throw this one out. This is Bale. Oh, that's great determination. William. And well out. stoppage time to play then. Chesney picks it up. Well, the fourth official has indicated 4 minutes of stoppage time. He got that pass all wrong. It's full time as this match to a close. And what a match it's been. No doubt in my mind with that decision. This player's been outstanding and deserves being named man of the match. It's a huge game today. Both teams have selected strong squads, still on edge. Managers playing a 4-5-1 formation today. This is the selection for the away side. Off we go then. Let's hope for some goal concern today. Intercepted. Here's Bale. Good catch by the goalkeeper. Good distribution. And that's a throw-in.
Deixe o seu like e se inscreva no canal.
To be honest, this player is taking on the opposition. Lovely passing here. Moving wide, but a good call by the referee's assistant. Safety first, back to the goalkeeper. Safety first, back to the goalkeeper. Not well. Jesus. It's a clear chance. Neymar, and it was close to missing. The work was on his side. Let's see Campaign continues, and they're in a position with the result here. Off we go. Let's hope for some goals in today. Dangerous tackle there. Good distribution. Back towards the centre. Oh, wonderful trickery here. That will take the pressure off. Filled in. Confident pass. Shot and then Jarrett.
Deixa o like, se inscreva no canal.
Filled in. Brozovic. Has a threat from distance, and he struck it so safely. Amazing goal. Well, let's take another look at that. So we're back underway. I wonder how they Great performance by this player. He fully deserves to be named man of the match.